Swan Lake is one of those ballets that didn't start its life by being extremely successful. The premiere was in 1877, and the first production was choreographed by Václav Reisinger. The first actual successful production of Swan Lake happened in 1895, which is 2 years after the death of Tchaikovsky. Tchaikovsky could never see this great work being brought back to life and receiving the success it deserved. Of course, one of the reasons for the success is that for the second production, everything came together. You had the magnificent music of Tchaikovsky, new pieces of music by Riccardo Drigo, who was the chief conductor at the Mariinsky, because of course the 1895 production was at the Mariinsky Theater in St. Petersburg, and you had an Italian ballerina, Pierina Legnani, who was the first one to perform the famed 32 fouettes. That was the first time a ballerina could do 32 turns going up and down the point shoe on stage.
Actually, the very first time I danced Swan Lake, and I danced it with Marcello, we were 25 years old in England, and it was always one of the ballet that I really, we both wanted to dance the most. It's one of the most rewarding and fulfilling ballet to dance. It is also one of the most complicated in the sense of artistically and technically ballet to dance and to be able to perform. I think in Swan Lake the entire classical technique, the entire book of classical dancer, it is packed in the choreography, in the variation, in the duets, in everything.
I joined the Tulsa Ballet team in 1995, which is about 100 years after the premiere of Swan Lake. And I wanted to start bringing the big classics to the company. But as Daniela tells me all the time, when it comes to the classics, you better do them because you're not going to be happy with anybody staging them. We were very lucky to perform all those ballets many times. Swan Lake probably more than 80 times, Sleeping Beauty more than 100 times. All those classics, we did them to death. And so through the process of dancing them so much and so many times, we danced 5 versions of Swan Lake, 5 versions of Giselle. By going through this process, you start developing your ideas of what you like, what you don't, within the parameters of the classical ballet. And so in 1998 or 1999, I set shop and I started choreographing it.
During the course of the years, the only act that is the original of 1895 is Act 2. Basically. So the other act that got lost. So any company who does Swan Lake, generally they tend to keep the traditional architecture and choreography of the Act 2, the white act, and then it's up to the interpretation of the choreographer.
I think I managed to reconstruct it stylistically in a way that is very close to the Petipa-Ivanov way of structuring choreography, both in architecture and in style of choreography, but in a way that it also moves faster and is more appealing to the audience of the 21st century.
Beautiful part of it that we spoke the same language, not as Italian, but the same, artistic language or ballet language. So we were able I was able to understand and express what he wanted, and especially give the essence to the steps and to the choreography. So it was really nice.
Of course, having a ballerina like Daniela in the studio with me, when we first staged this version for Tulsa Ballet, was instrumental in not only in the choreography but the quality. You know, going back home and yeah. Again, I danced it a lot, but I danced the Prince, I danced Pas de Trois, I danced Rothbard. I was never a swan. I was too old, I was too tall and too ugly on points to be cast as a swan. So it's different when you feel the movement in your body. And she had, you know, to coach me and teach me, you know, that's how you move an arm in Swan Lake, that's how it feels like a wing, you know, the arms have to be a little bit behind you.
We danced together for 18 years before he became artistic director. So could be challenging sometimes to work with your husband. I mean, the sense that you dance together, you are in the studio all day, you go home in the evening, you know, we used to discuss a lot our roles. We also used to have some animated discussion about, you know, the technical side or the interpretation side of the role. But I think it was very useful. I think it was great because, in a way, we managed to create something on stage, to create something special. That was the most fascinating part. We also, you know, we used to dance with other people, but I have to say, it was always special when we danced together.